Club. Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Saturday morning, and you know what that is. This is Multifamily Unplugged, your number one Saturday morning radio show for the real estate investor, the multifamily investor, the broker, the property management professional. And Carl, you know what I always say, we're probably the only Saturday morning radio show that's out there. So
that could very well be, Mike.
What's up today, Carl? How's it going?
Oh, not too much. Just another beautiful Saturday here in Chicago. How about you?
Good. I see you got those blue glasses on, trying to keep out the red out of the eyes from last night. You're muted, Carl. Carl, you're muted.
No, these block the blue light, so they you don't get tired while you're looking at your screen.
Yeah, that's good though. Hey, boy, everything's going crazy here this morning. Phones are ringing, Skype is ringing. Geez, can't shut any of this off. Okay, hey, so Saturday morning, Multifamily Unplugged. This is where we dive into raw and unscripted radio. We're going to talk about real estate. We're going to talk about some current events. We're going to talk about coaching this morning. We're going to talk about how important coaching is. Hey, we are live on Facebook, live on Clubhouse. So wherever you're joining us from, whether you're on Zoom with us or whether you're on Facebook or Clubhouse, we're glad that you're here this morning. We're here every Saturday morning. So here's what I want you to do right now. Let's do a little housekeeping. First of all, go wake somebody up. If you got kids in the house sleeping, go wake them up. If you got people in the house still sleeping, go put a cup of coffee in their hand and get them here, because you're not going to want to miss today's episode. So let me just clear up a couple of things. If you would please go to social media and like us and love us on Facebook and LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, anywhere that you hang out, we're there. Go to YouTube and subscribe to our channel. Carl and I would really appreciate it. We've got tons of material out there, weeks and weeks of great guests and superstars in the business that you can glean from and get a bunch of information and data from. So whether you're following us personally or on our business pages, please make sure that you're subscribing to us. Thank you. So make sure that you have questions this morning for our guests, because I know that you're going to want to. And there's plenty of things that you want to ask. So, Carl, you want to catch us up a little bit here for a minute, or?
Yeah, no, it's been a couple of weeks. So, Mike, last week we weren't on. I think didn't you have a seminar or something going on? So we weren't on last week, and I forget what happened the week before, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I had a big webinar last week and getting ready for my event coming up. We pushed my event from next week out into October. So our event now is in October. It's the 14th, 15th, and 16th. It'll be live in Schaumburg. Schaumburg's about 20 minutes from O'Hare Airport if you're flying in from Moose Jaw, where our guest is calling in from this morning. So, hey everybody, let me just take a second here. We are joined this morning, somebody coming to us right near Moose Jaw, Canada this morning, Edna Keep. Edna is a real estate investment teacher and author of Multiple Ways of Wealth, Creating Your Prosperous Lifestyle, and she has a deep understanding of what investors want. You know, one thing I want to say about Edna, and I'm going to let her introduce herself, Carl, but Edna is currently working on a deal that will almost double the number of units her team owns and manages right now. So I'm pretty excited to see what that's all about and where that's going. Edna, welcome this morning. Glad that you're here.
Thanks so much for having me, Mike and Carl.
You bet. I was on your podcast a few weeks ago, and that was great. We had a great conversation, huh?
We sure did. It was awesome getting to know you.
Yeah, you too. I'm glad that you're back here. So Edna, listen, for our listeners, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you have going on in your life.
Sure. So I used to be a financial advisor. I did that for about 15 years. And then I was introduced to real estate in 2007. And we took our initial training through the Robert Kiyosaki Group. And within 18 months, we owned 50 doors, and we were inducted into Robert Kiyosaki's Hall of Fame, Tigrant Learning Hall of Fame, it was called, for all the strategies we used in that 18-month period. And we never looked back after that. You know, our last purchase of that 50 was a 24 unit apartment building. And we really loved the fact that we could buy larger deals like that. And that's been our focus ever since, is multifamily properties.
Wow, that's interesting. You know, I love that you said that your first seminar was Robert Kiyosaki, right? Because we always learn from somebody like that, don't we? We go to an event. You know, I tell a story about my first one was Robert Allen. I don't know if you remember Robert Allen,
I
but
do. Yeah. Yeah. Read
he,
his book.
yeah, he was always noted for being the no money down guy, right? Buy
Yeah.
real estate, no money down. Challenged the world, said, put me in any city in the country, leave me $20 and I'll own real estate and have money in my pocket in 3 days. And sure enough, the St. Louis Times took him up on that, dropped him in the middle of St. Louis, took his wallet, gave him $20. And by the end of the weekend, he owned 3 pieces of real estate and had $4,000 in his pocket. That story alone caused me to go to his 3 day seminar. So it was crazy, but just amazing how if you have the right mindset, right? How much of it do you think is that, Edna, mindset?
You know what? I would say over 90% is mindset, because I ran across a lot of people who took the same training we did. Mike never did a thing, never did a thing. I would run into them at conventions like 3 days later, and I'd be all excited to see them. And where are you? And, you know, we're bragging because we got 50 doors or more than that at 3 years. And people were saying, oh yeah, well, we bought one property, or we never did pull the trigger. We're just learning. We're just learning. We just learning. I kept hearing that over and over again. Yeah. And yeah, just learning doesn't work. You have to take the knowledge and put it into action.
And, you know, that's such a great thing. You know, we talked earlier before we got on about Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor, you know, he's known for his law of attraction, right? The Secret and everything. Yeah. And when I was working with Bob, you know, I said to him, I said, but Bob, you know, that's only half the picture. And he said, yeah, I know. He said, you know, the law of attraction is the universe working on you. Yeah. He said the law of action is you working on the universe. He said, and they go hand in hand. He goes, you can't just sit around and wish and hope and get educated. You have to get into action. And that's such an important point that you just made. And, you know, I'll never forget, years ago, I used to be a real estate coach as well. I don't do that anymore. I work purely on mindset. And I had a woman that was thinking about doing my class. And I asked her, because I'd interview her, I would never take somebody on unless I really knew that I could do to help them, because I didn't want to just take their money. I wanted to have them be a success story, right? And yeah. I asked her, I said, well, have you ever done any training before? She goes, oh yeah, I did this training and that training. She had done like 5 years of training. And I said, well, how much property do you own? She goes, well, I haven't ever bought a property before. I said, well, you don't need any more training. I said, yeah, I'm not going to take you on as a client. I said, take everything you've got and get into action. And she was flabbergasted. She couldn't understand why I didn't want to take her on as a client. And I said, you've got to get into action. So that's such a key point.
It totally is. And I've done the same thing as you, Carl, because some people are perpetual students. And I think they're just scared to take action. And I take action-oriented people too. Like I said, if you really want to buy a building this year, sign up. If you just want to learn something, yeah, go read another book or get on YouTube. You'll learn something every day.
So what do you think the difference is, though, Edna? And Carl, you too, you know, what do you think the difference is? What causes some people to take action and some not to?
Well, go ahead, Edna.
I was going to say, you know, I think a part of it is just belief in themselves and just having faith that the universe works like Carl said it does. You know, the universe works on you to grow you as a person, and you work on the universe and grow what you need to do. And it does not come by just thinking about it. I think that was part of the place where The Secret let people down is, I'm going to imagine and I'm going to dream and I'm going to affirm and auto suggest, but they skip the action part altogether. And that's the part I think most people miss.
Yeah. And it's both. You have to put your plans out. You know, I have vision. If you ever come to my house, I have vision boards all over my house. Yeah, right. I mean, that's part of it. Yeah. You know, however, you've got to get into action. You know, Mike, I just finished my book called Unstoppable You, and it talks exactly about that. You know, the 5 things that stop people, I don't care who you are: fear, doubt, confusion, indecision, and worry, right? That's what stops people. And, you know, you can go and get educated, you can go learn, you can do all that stuff. But if you let your fears, your doubts, your indecision, your worry, your confusion you're going to get stopped, right? And Mike, you know, I've said this 100 times, and I know you've said it as well. You can have the best program, you can have the best property, the best partners, the best finance, you can have all that stuff put together. If you don't have the right mindset, you're just not going to go as far as when you get your mind squared away on what you're going to do. And I believe that those are the 5 things that stop you, you know, and for a lot of people, it's fear of poverty, right? Fear of criticism, fear of people not wanting to hang out with them anymore. And when you get beyond that, you really are unstoppable. And, you know, so I'm interested, Edna, like, what were some of yours? Mike and I always are interested, you know, people about their first property. Like, what are some of the things that you went through that some of our listeners might be dealing with?
You know, we were scared of everything, Carl. We had only ever bought our own personal home, and we were on our 3rd home by the time that we signed up. So we kind of had that process down pat. But you know, we were scared of tenants. We were scared of roofs, furnaces, all that stuff. Our first purchase was actually a condo because of that, because we thought, well, that's probably the least risk we could take. But yeah, we were scared of everything. You know, we had many sleepless nights before we signed those first mortgage documents.
How about you, Mike? How about you? I'll tell you what mine was, but what was do you remember what was your fear when you're going into your first deal?
Just asking, you know, so my first deal was a creative financing deal. So remember, I just finished Robert Allen's seminar. It was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday deal. Go home Sunday night. I am excited as hell. Monday morning, I get up and I grab the newspaper and I start. So I'm dating myself, right? This is when for sale by owners were in the newspaper. So I start reading through the for sale by owners, and I'm calling people, asking them, you know, Robert Allen gave us 10 questions. Hey, why are you selling? Where are you going? How soon do you need to move? How much mortgage do you have? You know, I can almost remember all 10 of the questions. And so I start reading through the questions, talking to people, and I was like, oh, this is pretty easy. Well, I finally get a guy on the phone who says, you know, yeah, I'd consider doing an owner financing. I said, great, let me come out. I go out to this guy's place. He's got a 3-foot flat. And Carl, it was in Maywood. You know where Maywood is, right? Edna, Maywood's a suburb of Chicago.
Okay.
And so I go to his place and we talk for, God, about an hour and a half. And I walk away. I write him a check for $1,000 and he's going to hold the paper on the rest of on the 3-flat. That was the first deal I did. So, you know, was I fearful? Yeah, I was probably fearful, but you know, I just walked through it. I think we have to walk through it. You know, I call it call reluctance, right? If you're afraid to pick up the phone and make a sales call, it's call reluctance, right? Mm-hmm. It's the same thing if you're calling a seller to look for a property. So,
yeah. Well, for me, it was criticism. I was you know, fear of criticism, right? I was a banker. And I saw all these people I was financing had property, and they kept saying to me, "Well, Carl, do you own a building? Do you own any buildings?" And so it was the fear of not of being judged or being criticized, because my customers were saying, my clients were saying, "Why don't you own a property?" So I jumped in, and Mike, I agree with you 100%. You know, you were armed. I mean, your story is a great story. It's pretty inspirational because you were armed. You just put everything aside. You said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to follow this program. This guy did it. I believe in him. I'm going to ask the 10 questions. And you put all that behind you. And you took a system that works. And what do you always say, right? Success leaves clues, right? So you followed his program and you did what he said to do and it worked out. And I think that's so key.
Edna, you were going to say something. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say too, like you had something to follow. Like Robert Allen said, here, use these questions. And a lot of people need that kind of guidance, like right to the basic. What do I say? What do I say if I get a seller that's interested? You know, how do I get them interested? All that stuff is the start. Like Carl said, yeah, making that first call.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your program. So what are the type of clients you train or coach, or have you written a book, or tell us a little bit about your programs?
Sure. So my program is called 90 Days to 5K. And the premise there is based kind of on our goal. You know, we decided we wanted to make $5,000 a month from our cash flowing investments. And we were able to do it in 18 months. And I took what I learned and built it into a program. Now, you're not going to get in 90 days, the cash flow. Not usually, unless you're Robert Allen, to get that much in 90 days. But in 90 days, you'll understand the process, and then you can work it through. Most of my clients are getting there between 6 and 18 months if they follow the program.
So what's the process? What do you take
the process? First of all, you want to start with a vision. What's your vision? Because you don't want to build a life that you're going to hate. Then we start reaching out, Mike. Like, we start reaching out to power team members, like realtors and mortgage brokers and potential sellers, whether it's on Craigslist or Kijiji or wherever you can find for sale by owners, or networking in places where apartment buildings owners are. So it starts with the process. What do I do first? Well, this is the conversation you have with the realtor, because there's people who've been trying to get hold of realtors. They won't even call them back. But right. Part of it's because they go in with not the right questions. Like, they're acting like they don't know anything. They're acting like, I'm a little dummy over here. Help me. And realtors are paid to sell a property. They're not paid to teach you what you need to know in order to find a property. And so all of that starts with building up some confidence in yourself. And then, of course, analyzing areas, analyzing deals, understanding all the pros and all the steps that have to happen even to put a mortgage into place.
So I was listening to something this morning. I think it was on YouTube, and Ed Milet and Tom Beals, I think that's how you say his last name, were talking, and they were talking about how you build your success, right? And Ed Milet was saying that you build it by stacking, right? So every time you do something, and I do this with my coaching clients, so I give them an assignment. And I say, hey, okay, so this week you have to do 1, 2, 3 things. And they come back next week. And if they got them done, that's that. Now give yourself some success, celebrate in that, build on that. Now let's do a little bit more. Let's do a little bit more. And when I got in coaching, my coach did that for me, right? So when I first got in coaching, it was about how to sell more residential real estate and how do I stay productive in the residential space. Well, I ultimately got to a place where I was making 20,000 dials on the telephone a year, right? To sell 125 listings a year. So, it's that stacking, right? We build on it, we build on it, we build on it, and that's how we get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you can't know everything at once. And lots of times you have to pull the trigger before you know everything, right, Mike? Like, you just can't know everything. There's lots of stuff that is learned in the buying process. So you have to go through the buying process to teach yourself what that's like, or for you to get the feeling of what it's like.
Yeah, right. Hey, talk to us about one of your books.
Sure. So my first book was called Multiple Ways to Wealth, Building Your Prosperous Lifestyle. And I wrote that back in, I think it was like 2013, with the help of a ghostwriter, just like Robert Kiyosaki did. I'm good at talking, not so good at writing. And just really wanted, and was always told that, a book can be your best business card out there, kind of tells your story without, having to verbalize it to everyone. I find that nowadays, Mike, we do a lot of that by doing podcasts, by being on social media and different stuff like that. So, but when I wrote that was like, okay, this is your best business card you'll ever have, is putting out your book like that.
Yeah. Hey, Carl, I don't know where you went. If you need to get back in, though, let me know. I don't know if you...
Oh, no, I'm right here. Can you see me?
No, your video's off, I think.
Video's out.
My video's out?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can see myself. That's weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
Oh, there we are. Yeah, you're back.
It is. Oh. It is weird, Carl.
Technology, you gotta love it.
Yeah, I can see myself. I can see you guys.
Yeah, we can see you now, Carl.
Yeah, you're back. You're back. So good. Hey, Edna, Carl mentioned it earlier, but my big philosophy is success leaves clues, right? And if we do what other successful people have done, it helps our chances of being successful come along a little bit quicker, a little bit easier, right?
Yeah.
When I first went into real estate, I didn't know anything, and I went to a guy who was really successful. I actually had done a couple of fix and flips, and met this realtor along the way, and he was he sold a place, got us more money than we thought we would get, and got it done pretty quick. And so I went to him and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about going in real estate." He said, "I think you'd be great." I said, "Excellent. Can I shadow you?" Because I had done enough of the self-help stuff, right?
Yeah.
That I understood, listen, go ask somebody successful to, and I have a coaching client that's doing this right now. His goal is to meet a billionaire. And he's reached out to Richard Branson, Elon Musk. He's reached out to Gates. He's trying to get in their wheelhouse. But anyhow, so I went to him and I said, "Can I shadow you?" And he said to me, he goes, "No, I'm going to do one better than that. I'll make you a cassette tape." So that's how long ago this was. But those cassette tapes, right? I listen to that over and over and over again. It's just like a podcast today.
Yeah.
Get a podcast that you learned something from. Take one of the teaching podcasts that you or I produce, and go out there and listen to it over and over again, and put the fundamentals in place. You got to pull the trigger and take action, right? So I think that we can get all this knowledge, all this education, but now we have to take action. So, and if you follow successful people, they got the knowledge and they took action. So now it's your turn.
And your network equals your net worth. So the people you're around every day, whether it's a podcast or something like this, like that's what's going to help you. Because when you're around people who are doing what you want to do, it rubs off. It's like, oh, I can see that now. Oh, they did it. Oh, they did it. And it's not all theory anymore.
Yeah. Well, and that's so important. And, that's one of the ways you get beyond your fears, right? That's one of the ways you get beyond your doubt. That's one of the ways you get beyond your confusion is you connect with people that are doing what you want to do, right? That's, I use the analogy of a coach, right? Most people don't understand coaching. If you want to be and I'm a hockey guy, if you want to play in the Winter Olympics in ice hockey, don't go and find a basketball coach. Don't find a coach that is coaching high school. Right. Mm-hmm. Find somebody that's playing the same game you're playing at a higher level, and that also has coaches themselves, right? Because coaching is it's a two-way street, and if your coach doesn't have a coach, you're not getting the benefit of higher level coaching. Because I know when Mike talks to his mentors and talks to his, people that advise him, that trickles down to his clients, because that coaching, he might be on a call with somebody that's coaching him at 10 a.m. and then at 11 a.m. he's on the phone with somebody that he's coaching. Well, some of that 10 a.m. coaching is going to trickle down to the 11 a.m. people, right? Because
absolutely,
yeah, and that's that's so important. Find somebody that's doing what you want to do, right? Offer them something. And a lot of people in real estate think, oh, well, I don't have any money to invest. Well, invest in yourself. Get educated. Offer. Go to somebody and say, listen, I'll be a bird dog for you. Right. I don't have any money to invest right now, but I want to shadow you like Mike did and say, I'll find deals for you, or I'll help arrange money. We have value beyond just the money. And when you connect with people that are doing what you want to do, that's how you're going to succeed.
Oh, totally agree, Carl. And, I have a stat for you guys that's really important. And you just hit the nail on the head here. People who earn less than $100,000 a year, 0 coaches. People who earn $100,000 to $250,000 a year have 1 coach. People who earn $250,000 to $500,000 a year have 2 coaches, and people who earn over $1 million plus a year have 4 or 5 coaches. And what you just said about the trickle down effect is so important. Like, I am always working with at least 2 or 3 coaches at a time. And yes, every day I learn something and I'm passing that on to my students. So not only is it this coach, but they're having access to 2 or 3 or 4 other coaches that I work with, and it all trickles down. Isn't that amazing?
Well, and look at the Olympics. Let's take a very simple example. Look at the Olympics just passed, right? Just recently. An Olympic athlete has multiple coaches. They got a nutrition coach. They have a stretching coach. They have a, whatever sport is, they have that coach, right? They may have, what I mean? They've got 4 or 5 coaches. The top athletes, name any top athlete in any sport. They have multiple coaches. And that illustrates exactly what you just talked about. And when people get beyond that, I just sat and had coffee with a guy, Mike, who, by the way, I directed to you. I said, you want a great real estate coach? You want to buy property? Here, you need to go talk to Mike Morawski, right? And so, and I said, he and his wife want to buy a 3-flat. I said, John, the best thing you could do right now is, and they've got about $40,000 or $50,000 to invest. I said, listen, keep that money in the bank, take $2,000 to $5,000, spend the next year with a coach like Mike Morawski. I said, go and get some coaching, invest that money in yourself, because the coaching that you get in that 1 year and that money that you invest, that is going to stay with you for the rest of your life. Number one. Number two is you're going to protect that $40,000 that you would otherwise just invest, because you're going to do it more wisely, because you're going to have, the knowledge of somebody that's done thousands and thousands of units, right? And that's going to help you. It's going to help you when you write the contract. It's going to help you when you get your financing. It's going to help you manage the property. It's going to help you all along the way. And he kind of looked at me. I said, take a little bit of that $50,000, invest in yourself for the next year, get some prime coaching, and then come back and talk to me. And he said, that's a really great idea. And a lot of people don't do that. They don't invest in themselves.
Yeah. Hey, let me reset the room real quick, guys. So this is Saturday Morning Unplugged, and you are either with us on Facebook Live, Clubhouse Live, or right here in our Zoom room. Any way that you're getting this material, I'm glad that you're here this morning. And if you have a question, put it in the chat. We got a question from one of our listeners who's on every week. And Chris, good morning. Let me just say hi to a couple people too. Hey, Trevor, it's good to see you. Bill, good to see you. Mark, Larry, glad you guys are here this morning. Mike out on Clubhouse, glad that you're here this morning. And Chris has got a question. And what Chris says is that, does the average real estate investor use a CRM? I would think this would be a great way to find clients rather than dialing for dollars. Might as well automate it, or find deals, he said. And Chris, I agree with you 100%. And here's what I say about that is you still have to populate the CRM. Unless you have, can do a Salesforce type thing where Salesforce will populate it, you still have to populate that. I think that, Edna, when I first went into real estate, the biggest mistake I made was nobody taught me about follow-up. Nobody taught me how to stay in touch with people. Here's what I learned. This is how long ago this was. You take your 20 best leads, you have them on 3x5 note cards, you leave them in your suit coat pocket, and you call those 20 best leads every day. And if you sell one, you throw you take it out and you put a new one in. If somebody decides they're not going to do something, you take it out, you put another one in. But Chris is right. Nobody has ever taught me about building a CRM or a database. And today it's one of my most valuable tools is my database, because I can go there and I can call people if I'm raising money for a real estate deal that we're doing. If I'm talking to a coaching client, whatever that is, I can go to my CRM for that information and that data, and it's a place that I can keep records and notes. How do you use a CRM, Edna?
Well, I have one called Infusionsoft, which some people call it Confusionsoft.
Yeah.
But when I got started, I followed some pretty big coaches and they all recommended it. They said, if you're going to go big, you may as well get the Cadillac right from the beginning. And frankly, I have an assistant that handles it all. So we email people almost daily. And again, that was something I learned as things went along. And I do a lot of videos. And what my assistant does is he transcribes the videos into readable content. And that's what goes out to our email list every day. And so we do most of our follow-up through email nowadays. And then, of course, if it's new people, we encourage them to get on a strategy call with myself or one of my team.
Yeah, Infusionsoft, that's what all the big boys use. And Bob Proctor told me the same thing. If you look at the bottom of the emails you get from him, it says Infusionsoft. And it's a great, you can build campaigns. And if you have somebody working with you, you can do automated emails. And yeah. And, I think, Mike, and Edna, find the tools that work for you. Take a look at what the experts are doing. And I did the same thing. Bob said, use this one. I said, okay, why would I even argue with him? Right. I'm just like, okay, that's it. And so find the tools that work for you. Look at what other successful people that you want to mirror, right? And look into those tools, because whatever works for you works. And, I want to bring that up real quickly. I don't know who it is. It might be Anthony Robbins that talks about mirroring, right? He says, and he says, if you copy stuff when you're in school, you're getting into trouble because it's plagiarism, right?
Yeah.
But if you copy stuff when you're in business, that's called being smart, right? And so, he talks a lot about mirroring people, right? And find somebody that's doing what you want to do and mirror them, right? You don't need to recreate the well. Listen, the thing that I love about real estate is anybody can get into it. No one's going to ask you what college you went to. They're not going to ask you what your parents, did for a living. Nobody cares. If you can execute and perfect the deal, they're gonna work with you, right? And the other thing is, it's been around forever. You can jump in right now, right?
A couple things. Here's what I've always learned: that if you take one idea, it's theft. But if you do take a lot of ideas from other people, it's research. So I always stayed on the research side. I took a lot.
The research side, yeah.
And you were talking about the Olympics. Hang on one second. And you were talking about the Olympics, Carl. And I in the next couple of weeks, we've got the captain from the wheelchair rugby team on, Joe Delgrave. So I'm real excited about him being on. He's become a good friend over the last several months. So be kind of exciting.
That's gonna be a great conversation. That I'm sure he's got some really great pointers, because he's got a handicap, but he doesn't let them stop him, right? I met a woman. I did there was a thing called the Think and Grow Rich movie, and then they did the Think and Grow Rich Legacy Tour. And I met one of the other speakers at that. Was a woman that was born with no arms.
Wow.
And she was an amazing woman, and she's done everything. She's piloted a plane. She's got her pilot's license. She's gone scuba diving. She just refused to let that stop her. And she's an amazing woman. I can't think of her name right now, but I was so inspired and impressed by her, because we all think that we put these self-imposed boundaries on ourselves, right? These limited thoughts, these, as Bob says, these paradigms that are handed down from our parents, our grandparents, our teachers, and we don't realize that we are in control of that. We can, if that stops you, the only reason that it's stopping you is you're allowing it to stop you. And somebody that's in a wheelchair, or someone that's born with no arms, that's just unstoppable, is so inspiring. You know what I mean? And for the people that are looking to get into real estate, reach out to Mike, reach out to me, reach out to Edna, and lean on us. We can help you get over some of those fears, some of those doubts, and that confusion, because we were all there. Listen, none of us, Edna, I don't know about you. Were you born into no, you told us, you told us that you bought your first property, right? I know, Mike, you started off, with one property. I started off with one property. So you're not alone. Most of us start in the same spot with zero. And then the next day we've got a property. And the next thing you know, we bought more and more and more.
Right. Yeah. Once you get started, you kind of get the fever, don't you?
Absolutely.
And it's like, it's in your blood, and you can always tell somebody who's a committed, long time real estate investor, because there's just something different about them, and something different about us, I guess. But we're committed. It's in our blood. We continue to want more. And you know what it is? I read Trump's book years ago, The Art of the Deal. And, just something about that. Always been something about putting the deal together, right? And the structure behind it. Just like the first deal I ever did, the creative financing. Hey, here's what I tell people. I bought a $15 million, 450 unit apartment complex with none of my own money.
Mm-hmm.
And we did creative financing. So, can you be creative? Absolutely.
Yeah. And, Mike, here's the thing a lot of people don't realize. If you were able to do it, and Edna's able to do it, and I've been able to do it, and thousands of other people, so can you.
Yeah.
So Edna, let's talk about what you're up to now. Like, what are you buying? Where are you buying? How are you putting it together? I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
Sure. There was a question here regarding virtual assistant. Do you want me to answer that first?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, they asked, do you use a virtual assistant to help find leads? Absolutely, we do. We have a young lady now who reaches out and is getting people to join a Facebook group. She's awesome. We've hired her from the Philippines, and she's so good. And she's on every platform for us, getting us leads every single day. So yeah, absolutely, that's a great thing to do.
So what is that, she reaches out to individuals to get them to join your Facebook group because
Yeah,
on your Facebook group, you're out there putting content.
content. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, every day there's content like videos that I've done, and then just different education opportunities too. So yeah, she started with me June 1st, and I think she's added like around 800 people so far.
Wow.
So it's amazing, and good quality people. It's not. It's yes, this is my frustration. Like they're telling us what they need to know, because that's one of the questions we ask. What's your biggest frustration when it comes to building your real estate portfolio? And then she's got my answers, and she just sends them out again and again. And if she gets one that she doesn't have, she reaches back to me. She goes, Edna, I can't answer this one. What's your answer? I'll give her the answer, and then I see her using it whenever it comes up. So she's a very brilliant lady.
So what type of content do you put out, Edna? Talk about your content a little bit.
Well, everything from what it takes to be a real estate investor. We talk about property management, we talk about insurance, we talk about building your network, and then all the mindset stuff as well, because like Carla and I talked about a little bit earlier, I'm a big believer, 95% of your success is mindset. Mm-hmm. And so we talk a lot about that kind of stuff, but the whole strategy, and we focus on multifamily. So that's mostly what we talk about, like financing it and how to find the deals and how to analyze them and different stuff like that.
Okay. All right. Is it all video or is it written?
Well, I do mostly video because I'm good at talking and not, but my assistants take my content and turn it into writing. And sometimes it's just transcribed right through rev.com.
Yeah. Is that like an AI software?
I don't know what AI is, but it's just, it's something you send it in, and you pay so much a word or whatever, and they transcribe your voice into a written document.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a program out there called Otter, I think it is. Otter AI. AI is artificial intelligence. And what it does, like if it was running in the background right now, it would write down all the words that we say.
Yeah.
And you can go back and read it and pull clips and quotes out. It's pretty cool. So that must be what rev.com is. So.
Similar, yeah. And then, of course, then I just have to do the content once, and it gets repurposed many times. Like I'll do a podcast, and it's repurposed many times, which is so important. That's part of building your team.
So you use somebody out of the Philippines to do that work?
For that particular part, I do, but my main guy works right in my office.
Okay, nice.
But that's great. So you're active. You're also an active investor. That's also great. You're not only, which is also an important thing for people to understand. You're not just somebody that's, all about theory. You're as you mentioned earlier, about action. So, tell us about what you're up to now. Like, what's going on?
I think one of the things that said in our bio that we were working on a deal that was going to double our number of units going forward. We ended up letting that one go because it wasn't working. The numbers weren't working. Once the due diligence came out, it wasn't working. But we bought our last property in the spring of this year, March 31st. We took possession of 178 units in Memphis, Tennessee. Wow. And now we're fixing it up because it was highly vacant and just run down. So we're bringing it back up and bringing in new tenants and stuff like that. So it's very much our strategy with the 178 unit apartment building. So it'll take us a while, but then we'll refinance it, get all our investors paid out, and then you either sell it or hold it long term. This one we haven't 100% decided yet.
You like Memphis?
Yeah, we do. We really target workforce housing.
Okay.
And we've been able to find some really good deals there. Yeah.
How do you look at a market? Let's talk about that. What do you do? What are your standards or your criteria when you're looking at a market?
Well, just how sustainable it is for one thing. Like there's a lot of activity going on in Memphis, like a lot of workforce. Like there's like Nike and FedEx, and like there's a whole bunch of businesses there that are expanding and expanding and expanding. So we're looking for like the workforce housing. We don't go for high-end rentals. We're in the basic rentals, no pools, anything like that. Those are the areas we want to stick in, and a growing market, not one that's going backwards, but a very much growing market, and one that there's lots of rentals too, because in a lot of cases these people will never own just because they don't make enough money to be able to purchase a home.
So you're probably in a B and a C class product.
Yes. Yeah.
In those markets. So do you have could you like overall say that this is what the average rent is in that product class, and then this is what the average cost per door is in that product class?
Yeah, we paid 21,600 a door. We'll put in about 16,000 a door, and then we feel it'd be worth 55 to 60 a door when it's all said and done. And when we first started working on it, they were the rents were around 500 in there. And we were projecting that we could get the rents up to 600, 650, but we've actually been able to get them up closer to 700.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting, the rental increases this year? Everybody thought COVID was going to be the worst thing, and I still don't think we've seen the effects of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the rental increases have been incredible. I just put some content out this morning. That was a sheet about the Tampa market, because I'm doing a deal in Tampa, and why I like Tampa, and it's all about rent increases. In the last 12 months, that South Central Florida has increased 20% annually in rent growth. And it's crazy, because when you look nationally, we're still just south of 4% nationally on rent growth. So when you can go to a market like that and then underwrite conservatively, and a deal works, now it makes all the sense in the world, right?
Yeah.
I think Edna, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you might be our first international guest. I think you're over the border. I mean, have we had anybody else, Mike, that's international?
No.
Yeah, I get approached quite a few times. I even spoke at an event for the largest Los Angeles real estate investment group that's been around, I don't know, I can't remember exactly how long, but a really long time. And they told me I was the first Canadian as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, and the reason why I bring that point up is, a lot of people think, and it really depends on your own strategy, right? A lot of people think, oh, I got to buy in my backyard, and the market in Chicago is not very conducive to investors. But the reality is you don't. You can find deals all over the place. And I know, Mike, you've done deals all over the country, and it sounds like you've done them all over North America. I don't know if you have any holdings in Canada or not, or if you prefer the US.
Primarily Canada, because we started close to home too. Sure. Canada and the US. But I've had students even from the UK, because the system works anywhere. And once you learn the system, you can use it wherever you're going to invest, in your backyard or far, far away.
Yeah. I understand. I've talked to some other people from Canada, and I understand that it's not the easiest thing to get your money from Canada to the US to do some real estate. Is that a pretty tough process still these days?
Well, we didn't have any issue, but we also bought our properties with cash. So we bought both of those deals with cash, with the plan that we're going to refinance it once it's stabilized. So we didn't look for financing right off the start. Yeah.
Okay.
That's great.
All right. Well, we're just about winding down to the end here. Any last comments or thoughts, Edna? Anything you want to share?
Well, I'm going to just kind of piggyback on what Carl said. For anybody who's looking, and this was the biggest thing that we did. I'm not saying it to promote the three of us. Get a coach, get your training, because that was our catalyst. We were thinking about it. We didn't know what to do. We first went to an evening event. Then we went to a 3-day weekend event. Then we signed up for the training, and we took it, and we took it seriously. We didn't just sign up to learn. We took action on what we were taught, and we had coaches that held our hand through the process until we were comfortable doing it on our own. And that's what we do. We help you get past all that fear, because we've done it, been there, done that. And we still understand, we still remember our first fears. So we know what it's like, right?
Absolutely. No doubt about that. And, listen, I think that there's something to be said when coaching, when your coach teaches you something and then holds you accountable to the execution, right? Because when I was held accountable, if I went back the next week and said, well, I didn't make my calls, and my coach would say, why? And I didn't have a good reason. Well, because I was scared to pick the phone up. Really? That's not a good reason, right? So, the execution, being held accountable to the execution is really good. And here's the thing I wanted to say about coaching that I really like. And I think that you guys will agree with me on this. Coaching is not telling somebody what to do. I think we all intuitively know what to do. Coaching is helping your client, the coaching client you work with, self-discover what they need to do and helping them execute on that self-discovery. And that's what makes coaching so effective for people.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Mike. And it's when you told that story about accountability, because that's also a big part of it. It's also a big part. I'll never forget when I was training with Bob, I did a year-long program, and part of that was every Thursday. I don't know why I remember it, but every Thursday I would have an hour-long one-on-one call with him. And I remember one time he told me, he gave me an assignment and I didn't do it. And he knew immediately. He said, you didn't do the assignment, right? And I said, you're right, I didn't do it. He said, Carl, he said, you've already paid me. He said, you're not wasting my time and money, you're wasting your own. He said, and this is what he told me to do. He said, I want you to go back and I want you to read Think and Grow Rich 3 times. He said, until you do it, don't call me back. I won't take your phone call, right? And he was dead serious. And I knew it, right? And so I took the next 2 weeks and I read it one time, and then I read it the second time. And by the third time I read it, I went through it in no time. But my point is, he knew that I didn't do my assignment and he held me accountable. And he made that point that I'll never forget. I wasn't wasting his time or money because I already paid him. I paid for the coaching up front, and that's why he made me do that. I was wasting my own time and money by not following his direction. So yeah, accountability is definitely a big part of it.
Yeah.
Well, and back to your point, Mike, I remember with my coach when I was a financial advisor, he would say, "Oh, that long answer doesn't fit in this box. How many calls did you make this week?" It was not, "Oh, I wasn't feeling good," or my kids were. There was no room for that. It was yes or no.
Yeah. This is a yes or no question. Please don't complicate it on me.
Don't complicate it.
Hey, Edna, how do people get a hold of you if they want to talk to you, pick your brain a little bit, or find out a little more about your 90-day challenge?
Best way to find me is on my website, and it's behind my head there, ednakeep.com. My email address is edna@ednakeep.com, and I'm all over social media as Edna Keep. So they can find me fairly easily if they decide to look.
Yeah,
Is there a dot between Edna and Keep in your email, or no, just Edna Keep?
Yeah, just Edna Keep.
Okay. Make sure you grab that out of the chat, everybody, if you want to contact Edna, because on this one there's no show notes, just in case we say something that we shouldn't say. So, just kidding, Carl. Hey, Edna, this was great. Thanks for being here this morning. I want to thank all our listeners, whether you are on Clubhouse, Facebook, joining us right here in Zoom. If we can be of any help, if Edna can be of any help, don't hesitate to reach out, pick our brains. You remember, success leaves clues, right, Moose?
Yep, you got it. Thank you, Edna, Mike, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, you guys have a great day. Thank you. Remember, we're here every Saturday.
Okay. Take care.
Edna, hang on.
Yeah, I will.